TES with their new top laner, Qingtian up in the top lane, locking in that Lee Sin. Meanwhile, on the side of EDG, the set pick is available. Set, of course, is Flandre's most picked champion, most played champion in the summer split thus far. Not sure if he touched it very much in the spring split. Spring split was a lot of Ngar gameplay across most teams. But of course, with TES banning out his two other most played champions in the Akali and the Gwen, it is not surprising at all to see him pick up that set in the top lane. Meanwhile, we've got the Sylas ban coming in as well. Scout does play a fair bit of Sylas, but also does play a fair bit of LeBlanc as well as EDG. Looks like they are shaping up to have a pretty aggressive, but very much to the books dive composition coming out here. TES, let's see how they counter this. You can, of course, draft your own dive composition. Good amount of team fighting is available as well. You could do a little bit of poke, which is not a good idea actually against heavy engage like so. You could do a little split. The Camille is still up as well. Not many people going for the Camille now. Camille a little bit of a I would say abandoned and forgotten champion, to the great dismay of many, as the Diana pick does come in, as well as the Thresh. Thresh, of course, opening up a lot of possibilities for the side of TES. Could go with that hyper carry, scaling, Jinx, and Aphelios combo. Could still go for the Ezreal, no problem. Though Thresh Ezreal isn't one of the stronger duos. It's not weak per se, it's just kind of neutral. So I mean, it's not the worst to go into a neutral matchup. Then again, against EDG's bottom lane powerhouse of Viper and Mako, maybe you want to give your bot lane a little bit of an advantage instead of just giving them like a neutral matchup. As the Varus pick looks to be what is coming in here for EDG. Not sure if there's a little bit of a bug as it is down to 0 seconds time. We might just have a bit of a delay down on our screens, but I assure you, based on the reactions of the players and the coaches, that the game is still ongoing. Probably just gonna miss a quick beat, maybe 1 or 2 bans. Speaking of which, let's see what EDG are looking to ban out here. You still have a mid laner or top laner and AD carry to ban out. They could opt, of course, to ban out the Jinx and the Aphelios, leaving the Thresh in kind of an awkward position, as instead they opt to ban out the Lucian. Not quite sure why you would want to do that. Don't really think TES will go for a Lucian pick here. Of course, Lucian, Diana, good AP and AD combo. Alas, Diana doesn't really facilitate many 2v2s because of her nature of being more of a farming champion in the initial stages of the game. TES with the not ban coming out could also look to ban the Leona second. Rel isn't really a champion anymore. That pretty much just leaves up the Alistar and not Leona Alistar. Rel will be available as well, but of course Rel isn't really a strong champion. So many things now that can deny her, as the Draven ban comes out here up against TES. JackeyLove, of course, with his hyper aggressive playstyle, that is one of his more popular plays, more popular aggressive champions. Then again, he could always just pivot over to the Kai'Sa. Draven Thresh, sorry, not as strong as I'd say a Draven Leona, but Thresh does allow JackeyLove to step out very aggressively and pull him back, reel him in pretty much with the Lantern. And as to be expected, the Leona ban does come in. That does leave the Alistar, pick for EDG, looking to counterpick with their mid laner as the fifth and final pick, which leaves TES in the kind of uncomfortable situation of trying to predict what Scout could run in this mid lane. Scout, of course, with the Sylas ban, can opt for the LeBlanc, which has seen a lot of popularity in several regions, including this one, as well as the PCS, as Aphelios looks to be what what TES opt for. And in the mid lane, what can they do as well? I mean, Set against Lee Sin isn't catastrophically bad, isn't too terrible. I think Set kind of zones Lee Sin for the most part. Qingtian also hasn't been an extremely strong laner generally, as we've seen in the few games that he's played. He's held his ground, and against Xiaohu, he was the Set and Xiaohu was the Lee Sin, and he did manage to absolutely destroy Xiaohu in that game with the Set. Absolutely 1v1ing, 1v2 him very easily. On the side of EDG, I think the LeBlanc pick here would be absolutely perfect. Of course, LeBlanc is fantastic against immobile AD carries, which we see in that Aphelios, as well as the fact it's almost impossible to gank a LeBlanc as a Diana if you just save your ultimate distortion or just save your regular distortion. And to be expected, the LeBlanc pick fits nicely into the team. They got a nice little bit of a poke dive team fighting composition and lots of pick as well. Meanwhile, on the side of TS, it's just pretty much a grouping team fighting grouping and team fighting composition that they are running over there. Really nothing too much, nothing too complicated on side of TES. EDG do have more avenues to play from, but TES, if they can get some very nice flanks off, it's very one-dimensional, very simple playstyle. You just let Jackie Love scale up a little bit, get himself to the 3 or 4 item mark, and you just group up as a team, look for some nice flanks with the Karsa, and just explode the members of EDG. Really, no one has the safety required to survive this, with the exception of the LeBlanc with her mobility, with her distortion, as previously mentioned. But EDG also have some counterplay to that in the fact that they have the double bouncer combination of the Alistar as well as the Set. Of course, both of them will be able to just literally, quite literally in the case of Set, grab Karsa and chuck him out of the fight. Just bear hug him and bring him out, and then CC him for a little bit longer, maybe even soloing him. Diana isn't a very comfortable pick into a Set, of course, because even if you try and gank a Set, the chances are that he will turn on you and try to kill you, because his auto attacks just simply do so much damage in the early game. And of course, as the game goes by, Diana doesn't really build resistances, although her damage may eventually eclipse the output of the Set, with Set probably going for the Strike Breaker and the tankiness. That doesn't really bode well for the Diana, at least in a straight out 1v1. And as we're loading into the game, looking at the lanes, we've got a Set versus Lee Sin, we have got a Rumble versus Diana, and we've got a LeBlanc versus Viego. So priority-wise, I think EDG will have priority across the top side of the map. Meanwhile, Jackie Love and Zoe most likely have priority towards bot side. This doesn't mean that the junglers can only play towards D side. Both of them are kind of farm till 6 AP junglers. In terms of the mid jungle 2v2, I would actually say that I'm forgetting for some reason who the... Okay, I would actually say that, first off, there's tons of Merc Trades value here on the side of TES, because of course, double AP mid jungle, lots of CC on pretty much every single champion, even though the CC from Mako can't really, certain amount of CC, a little bit of the CC from Mako can't really be reduced by Tenacity, as Scout just using his distortion early to just get some vision out. Not sure if they spotted out that ward. Actually, Karsa may have no clue that he's just been spotted out. He will be starting bot side by the looks of it, as will the members of EDG. Unfortunately, TES are not going to leash. I mean, they're going to get to lane first, and the bot side will be able to push, get that priority in case of a Scuttle Crab contest, as Karsa just starting up the Raptor camp, taking a little bit of damage, but does have the wave clear, of course, with the Crescent Strike as well as the Crescent Sweep. And right off the bat, ladies and gentlemen, we are into the races, as Karsa have a very interesting pathing, opting to just finish his Raptors and then go straight, by the looks of it, to his blue buff. So a little bit of zoning happening here in the beginning. Zuo and Jackie Love, of course, one of the most aggressive bottom lane duos in existence, some would say. Jackie Love, he used to be with Yu Yanjia last year, and of course that wasn't such a great pairing, because sometimes there's a bit of a miscommunication between the two. And Jackie Love always was the more aggressive of the pair, but now somehow TES have dug deep into the trenches, I suppose, of the LDL, and found a support who is just about as aggressive as Jackie Love, as Zuo, in his initial... Oh, nice hook, goes wide. In his initial few games, actually, it was highly aggressive. In fact, TES, that's kind of been the story of their season so far in terms of spring and summer. In the spring, they brought on Zuo to replace Yuanjia, and then the bot lane was really the focus of many teams. And now that Qing Tian is in the league, Qing Tian is the rookie from the LDL now, up in the top side, replacing 369. We probably will have a lot of focus up to the top side. As you see, JJ is making his way up, having cleared out 4 camps, leaving his red buff up, not even having the time to do it, as in comes the dive. Qing Tian is level 2, teleport is being committed. There is Scout coming in, as Qing Tian trying to get away, does safeguard to the minions, trying to fist fight a higher level jungler, and the Flame Splitter just coming down. Luckily for him, luckily for Qing Tian, the overheat came through, and JJ was silenced out. Of course, those auto attacks did hurt quite a bit. Nice move from TES, just committing the teleport up from Knight to soak up some XP, and then rotating Karsa towards the mid lane, having just completed his own 4 camps. Will be able to secure a Scuttle Crab, as does JJ, and the clear kind of continues for both sides. I would say overall, Qing Tian got zoned from a bit of CS, but Knight did pick up the majority of it. Qing Tian didn't die. So the overall outcome is that Qing Tian is set slightly behind, Karsa set slightly ahead, and yeah, not so much though that it's catastrophic. Nice initial plays come in here from EDG, showing a great a great amount of proactivity. You gotta love it, and as to be expected, I suppose, not really to be expected, but as can be seen, EDG are playing towards their pushing lanes, and meanwhile TES is just chilling pretty much and responding. Although some would argue it is always better to make the proactive plays, it's not always the case. Sometimes just play defensively and allow yourself to scale, especially when you have a scaling composition. And it looks like Qingtian's about to get round 2. Does have teleport available to his credit, so even if he dies here, he will lose a couple CS, but he will be able to teleport back. And it looks like JJ is going to be spotted out on that tribush ward that was just placed down. No teleport is available this time to save Qingtian. Neither is there a Karsa nearby. It looks like Qingtian very wisely stepping back from his tower, and JJ rounds the corner just here to push another wave into it. Thankfully for Qingtian, the cannon minion is actually tanking up a lot of the hits, and he will be in range to soak up some of the XP, I do suppose, as now he walks right past Flandre, but he's now put himself between the two members of EDG with a 6 minion wave. The 6 minion wave still there, and in they jump onto him, trying to safeguard away. Double flashes are blown, and as to be expected, Qingtian playing extremely greedy over there as a hook lands bot side. There's a combo down onto Jackie Love, who is going to be jumped onto. Ignite is onto Mako. He is rooted out. He does not have anything to... Oh, actually he does. I was going to say he doesn't have anything to get out of this sticky situation, but he actually did have flash. I was more referring to the Unbreakable will not being available for a level 4 Alistar as the hook goes wide, right off the right shoulder of Viper. And so far, some initial plays coming down by EDG, very nicely done by their team, getting their players ahead. Flandre is definitely almost triple, I'd say, Qingtian's CS, who played quite greedily there, not having any member of his team nearby, but seeing the potential to outplay it. If he had Iron Spike Whip, he actually would have been able to outplay that. I think he would be able to clear the way with a quick E and Iron Spike Whip. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we see a dive coming in, a gank coming in towards the top side, as Karsa actually is just here to make sure that Qingtian doesn't get punished on the bounce of the wave, because of course there's another opportunity there for the jungler of EDG to look for something. But it looks like Karsa will just invade, try to see whatever he can steal, trying to spot out the camps and determine where exactly JJ could be. And with seeing the yellow stopwatch on the top side on the Krug camp, he will know that JJ will be up here eventually. Not sure if they spotted him out on the bot side with him popping that Scryer's Bloom. And looks like there could potentially be a dive here. I wouldn't really expect Flandre to fall to this, as he is one level up. He does have the Haymaker, of course. Qingtian taken so exceptionally low, as in comes the... Ooh, very nice combo going down. And Qingtian, with hitting that Sonic Wave, kind of triggers Karsa, what's the word? Heralds Karsa to a certain extent, I suppose you could say. He can, by hitting the Sonic Wave, Karsa realized, alright, I can go in, just commits the flash, jumps in onto Flandre, setting him slightly behind. Looking at the gold across the board, Flandre is still 400 gold ahead of his counterpart. JJ somehow managed to wrangle himself up a little bit of a lead as well. Scout and Knight in the mid lane completely even, but the members of EDG now are playing together towards the bot side, trying to get some vision away from TES, trying to get some deep vision, trying to spot out any potential ganks coming in, as Karsa surprisingly is playing to try and help Qingtian back into this game. Nice little trades going out there from the top laner of TES, and although he is taken exceptionally low, see this right there, that Sonic Wave, it kind of signals to Karsa, alright, we can definitely go in there. And Flandre, if his showstopper connected, that could have been catastrophic, but JJ is yet again up towards the top side. This time, however, Karsa is in the area as well, does not have his Moonfall available, however, and Karsa looks like he's making his way now towards the bot side. This could mean that JJ, fortunately for Qingtian, JJ has no clue that is happening and will be backing off. The wave is building, however. We could see him make a quick 180, and look right there on the minimap, we see him do just that as the wave is just crashing. He's a little bit late in my opinion, but it looks like TES now are moving towards the dragon, motioning to try and get something back, as they know Qingtian is about to be dove in there. But he does have no Iron Spike Whip, and the equalizer gets thrown out. Unfortunately, the showstopper does not, the face breaker does not kick him back into the equalizer, and Qingtian actually playing that exceptionally well, using Flandre in fact to clear out the wave with the Dragon's Rage. And meanwhile on the bot side, Mako being ran down, does not have the Unbreakable will ready, as another Crescent Swipe comes through. Beautiful piercing arrow, trades back a kill on the side of EDG, and so far a 1-for-1, as Qingtian very beautifully avoiding a kill down there. Meanwhile, the bot side of EDG showing just as much ability, as a dive is going to be attempted here, but Viper getting so much damage down onto Zor. I don't know if this is a good idea, as the Flame comes down, one shot by the tower is Zor, and now Karsa taking an exception, doesn't want to touch Viper, as Viper full HP, just only lacking in terms of mana. And so far, the EDG bot lane absolutely outplaying it. 2v3 situation, getting a 2-for-1, but now it looks like Qingtian Tian is about to get even more attention up towards him. I'm not sure if he knows what's happening here. There is the showstopper available, but there will not be an equalizer. Flashes are not available for any of the characters on the screen, and it looks like eventually JJ will back out, realizes this is maybe forcing a little bit too hard. They do want to get Tian behind, but not really at the expense of waiting there for so long. That being said, Mako has made his way out, and this could be a 3-man dive, because I guess eventually, never mind. They go for the Rift Herald. I was thinking if 2 people doesn't work next time, just add another person, rotate your support up. And it looks like TES will not be attempting a contest for this. And let's see what happened in the bot side to start out this fight. Zuo, stepping forward, uses the flash, manages to force out Viper's flash. Nice sidestep from Mako as well. Unfortunately, he is left high and dry. Jackie Love's damage output wasn't very high at this point because, of course, he doesn't have the items. He doesn't have the guns he would have liked, I do believe. And yeah, just beautiful play overall from the side of EDG. Pressuring top side, getting something back in the bot side. TES not really able to fully punish the bot side, the cross map of EDG. And so it's easy to say that entire exchange went in favor of EDG. Meanwhile, on the top side, looks like Flandre going in on to Qingtian at an unopportune moment as Karsa rounds the corner. Teleport is coming in. There is Scout, and the response teleport is coming in as well. Qingtian and Karsa are so exceptional. Looks like Scout will take out Karsa in underneath the tower, but Knight is here as well. Does have the Heartbreaker, does have the potential for resets, but Knight is taken so incredibly low. Needs to jump in after JJ. In comes the Heartbreaker, and down goes JJ. Scout with his distortion will be able to get away. Maybe he won't, as the flashes away from the Spectral Maw, but Knight giving chase eventually gets stymied with the root. And a nice rotation coming in here from both the mid laners, teleporting in response to each other up towards the top lane. A 2v2 turn 3v3, but overall a 1-for-1 trade as TES and EDG appearing and giving the faintest impression of just being equals here, as they just trade blow for blow across the map in the bot side. Viper and Mako trying to make something happen here, trying to deny some CS, but CS, in terms of CS, TES is a hit in his bot side. Zoa does have the lantern, can look for a gank, jumps in onto the mini wave because he knows that Viper does have the cleanse available, and it looks like they will not be able to get anything here. I like the looks they were trying. Karsa, in spite of his proactivity, is still slightly ahead in terms of CS over JJ, who does have the stopwatch. Dragon is going to remain on the board, but that will of course be the next likely objective that both teams start fighting over, as some resets are coming in from the bot side of each team. Scout does pick himself up a blue buff, letting TES know exactly where JJ is. And now we have a bit of a lull in terms of action. Let's take a quick look. Let's take a quick step back and look at the goal. The goal is completely even. In fact, it's a completely even game at this point. We have 8 kills going to either team, 18.5 gold per champion. Across the board, the gold is mainly distributed on the side of EDG in Viper as well as in their top laner. Actually, no, not even in their top laner. In Viper, yeah. Most of EDG's gold advantage is in Viper, as he's about to get ganked here. He does not have flash. Meanwhile, Karsa does have his. He could just flash and use the Moonfall Bill, and in goes the combination. Cleanse comes out. Unfortunately, it is not enough to save him, as in goes Jackie Love as well with his flash, just finishing off the AD carry of EDG just before his flash comes up as well. Qingtian in the top side does have the Iron Spike Whip. However, JJ could potentially look for a dive here, and realizing that his jungler is in the bot side, realizing that his team is going to get some plates down there, as well as the Dragon opts to back away from this tower in no hurry to get back to his tower, I suppose, as Scout has made his rotation up as well. Jackie Love picking himself up some very enjoyable gold and solo time with that tower. And I'm pretty sure Qingtian, although this doesn't feel so good as an individual player, if you look at it from a team perspective, this is fantastic, because your late game scaling AD carry does get the solo play thing to himself, does get the resources that will make him now able to accelerate his rush towards being the hyper carry champion, as Qingtian just using the Rift Herald to get back into the safety of his tower. Probably won't get Dove here, even though JJ and Flandre are here. He is 1 level down from his lane counterpart, and the rest of TS are backing off now. And meanwhile, in the mid lane, Scout and Knight just dueling it out. Unfortunately for Scout, Knight is kind of tanky with his resistances, with his Milk Treads, as well as his Phage and Kindle Gem. And it looks like EDG will now back off from the top side. Qingtian, with losing his tower, actually will have a lot of safety when it comes to picking up waves that are pushed into him. And it's kind of, although it does open up Knight to getting flanked from the top side, Flandre could just push it in and then meet JJ in the top side of TES's own jungle and attempt for a dive onto Knight under the tower. But of course, that depends on how everything goes. And in goes Karsa on to Scout. The Crescent Swipe does hit him. but eventually it seems that Scout will be able to escape. Dragon has been taken out, but so Rift Herald will probably be the next objective available on the map. Looking back at the gold lead, we have a slight lead in favor of EDG, but in terms of how the gold has shifted, Jackie in fact has gotten more gold now with that one more assist and the several, I think 4 platings went in favor of him when Viper was taken out there by Karsa's previous gank. It looks like the members of TES are congregating more towards this bot side, realizing fully well that they can have Qingtian, they can have the top lane. We just really want the money and the gold to be on our Aphelios. So they are perfectly happy with how the game is turning out now. EDG, on the other hand, I guess they can't really complain either. Their composition doesn't scale as well per se, but it doesn't scale horribly. You do have the nice little bit of poke from the Varus, can make it so in team fights the Aphelios doesn't even get to play the game, especially if he's too low. Poke him out a little bit, let Scout come in from the flanks and finish off the job. Meanwhile, the jungler and the support of EDG now pairing up to get some deep vision into the jungle of TES. Knight realizing that he's in a little bit of a precarious position, does back off, but it looks like the real people in precarious positions right now are the bot laners of TES. As a back is being channeled. Lantern will come in and save Jackie, who actually greets for a few more minions, but manages to push the wave very far away from his tower, actually denying a dive. Very nicely played from the bot side of TES. Meanwhile, Knight now is pushing out the mid lane, while Karsa is going to be able to clear out his jungle of any vision. Flandre and Qingtian seems to have come to agreement and will no longer be looking to fight each other by the looks of it. And overall, I must say, based on how Qingtian performed on the set versus Xiaohu in the set versus Lee Sin lane, I must say he's doing a fantastic job for himself. He isn't really giving away that many kills. Honestly, the only Dovin once is 30 CS behind, but that is to be expected considering the amount of attention that EDG have given to him. Now, hook does hit, but the members of TS are towards the top side, taking their Rift Herald for themselves. It looks like EDG will be rotating. Of course, they are fully aware of what is going on here. Will not have their AD carry if they opt to contest, and it looks like eventually EDG realized that the Rift Herald is too far gone. They will just give it up. Now TES can look to rotate towards the top side, can look to dive Flandre, and it looks to be the case as Knight is making his way up there. A bunch of coming pings are going down as well as the Sonic Wave does hit. Knight does have the stun. Spectrum Maul is being channeled right now. Flandre trying his best to clear out the wave, uses the showstopper actually to block out the stun, and eventually the Haymaker comes down as well, but the chain CC is just too much, and the members of TES are too well coordinated, unfortunately. As Flandre falls, members of TES are so exceptional. Very nice equalizer dropping down onto 3 as the Hex Tech belt comes through, plastering the remaining members of TES in the back with some rockets. And although that does not really do much, it does mean that EDG will be able to save their top tower. So good plays coming in there from the members of TES, actually able to get something back, able to get a dive going. Good stuff going on here. As in the mid lane, Jackie Love still just picking up some resources, has finished his Kraken Slayer, but is seemingly a little bit behind in terms of components compared to Viper, who is now making his way towards his Muramana. Of course, Muramana as well as Prowler's Claw are the cheaper items for the if you compare the crit items as opposed to the lethality items. So it is to be expected that Viper is ahead in terms of gold. So that means by extension, that does mean that Jackie Love is doing a fairly decent job by himself, getting even on items despite having the more expensive items. Now, Dragon is spawning in 15 seconds time, and that means we're gonna see both teams probably group up and attempt to fight this. TES, of course, do have the option to not fight it because they have the scaling composition, and a teleport coming in here from Scout could really just stymie the aggression. TS, based on how they are positioned across the map, doesn't look like they are going to contest this or are particularly interested in even encroaching towards the bottom side. In fact, Karsa now just trying to make his way towards the top side. He needs to be careful, however, as Viper and Scout are rotating in response to what they saw of him, and I do believe he is going to be in a little bit of trouble here as he does throw the Crescent Sweep onto Scout, does get tagged up by the chains. The Lantern will be available as in it comes, Zuo just bringing his jungler into safety. And right off the board, we could see a bit of a fight here. They are clumped up in the jungle next to a Diana, and that's not exactly where you want to be. That being said, TES, good amount of discipline coming in, realizing that they aren't really at the point where they can run at EDG just yet. Just in fact, putting some pressure onto the map, allowing Knight to get that top lane pushed down. Playing through 2 lanes are the members of TES, and overall, based on how the map is going, EDG are playing very well, no doubt. But TES are just getting a little bit of a lead somehow. Just finding a way to play the map a little bit better, playing through 2 lanes, being there for the counter ganks, trying to make the cross map plays overall. Of course, the execution of the individual members of EDG is kind of what is keeping them, I think, keeping the game so close in spite of the currently superior movements of TES. And meanwhile, Knight is just going to be shadowing Flandre in almost every sense of the word, I suppose, down towards this bottom side. Teleports are not available for EDG's Scout, and Qingtian is being jumped onto by Flandre, as you can see. Really, Flandre not doing too much damage as Equalizer is dropped as well. Showstopper brings Qingtian out of the Equalizer as JJ flashing in onto him, finishes him off. Knight Heartbreaker coming through from Knight, getting himself out of the fight, disengaging fully as Karsa rounds the corner. Scout has managed to push a wave in towards the top side, so the members of TES are going to want to try and scramble and pick up some of that resources as they all go to waste under the tower. It looks like it will be Knight who recalls and will claim that Sid XP. A little bit of over-aggression from the top laner of TES as Jackie Love now just picking up wave after wave, is ahead in terms of CS, only slightly behind in terms of gold, maybe because of course of the 2 kills that Viper does have over him. And let's just see, I suppose. Looks like EDG now playing a little bit towards the bottom side of the map, just playing the map decently well. Looking at the goal, everything is still even. So now let's look at how things will go. So EDG's win condition, as previously mentioned, is Scout exactly on the flanks, looking to try and get in a sneaky one-shot onto Jackie Love. It's going to be Zhuo's responsibility to make sure that doesn't happen with the flays, with the hooks, and most importantly, beforehand with the vision, as Jackie Love, with the dancing shoes, actually kiting away from everything. The Chains of Corruption misses, the Piercing Arrow misses, the Equalizer only tags him ever so slightly on the back end of his heel as he steps forward. And so far, attempts made by EDG to try and accelerate the game. Of course, that's kind of what they want to do with the composition that doesn't scale so well. But TES are playing through 2 lanes yet again, this time top and bot. Looks like Qingtian is going to give his life up here. Let's see what TES can do in the mid lane as Karsa jumping in onto Viper now, taken out almost by one person as they trade AD carry for top laner. And honestly, with this composition at this point of the game, based on how everything has gone, this is definitely worth it for TES as they take mid tower as well. So 2 for 1 trade kind of going in favor of TES. Karsa seeing his opportunity, pulling the trigger, blowing his flash, forcing out Vipers as well. And as Viper, there's really nothing he could do in that situation. Prowler's Claw wouldn't have saved him. He only had Cleanse, which also wouldn't have saved him. So overall, good plays coming out from TES. It's as though they knew that they were going to go for Qingtian, and then everyone they needed to be in position was in position to punish Qingtian. Good team play coming out from him. Willingness to just get sacrificed as Knight with a rotation down bot lane had absolutely been tearing away at EDG's outer turrets. And in spite of how the outer turrets have been falling one after another to the hands of Knight, it seems as though, ooh, very nice play here. It seems as though EDG somehow are managing to pull the game back still. The goal lead is really insignificant at this point in time. It's only slightly, ever so slightly in favor of TES and Jackie Love, and there's really nothing much to see here as Qingtian just gets utterly exploded, corralled into position. But meanwhile, on top side, Karsa actually soloing Scout. He's burning down, and Qingtian looks like he's going to get himself a bit of a retribution kill onto his murderer from the previous time. Will this be the sign for TES to start up Baron? Okay, this is where the excitement begins, ladies and gentlemen, because LPL Barons 4v5 happen all the time, and no LPL team gives up Baron. In comes teleport from Flandre, ultimates are available, Moonfall is available, Equalizer is dropped down, Karsa with the Zhonya's very quickly, but Qingtian kicking Viper into, it's a 3-man ulti, Viper gets eradicated as the rest of EDG seems to follow suit, but the fight is being put up by both Flandre and JJ as they're trying their best to get something back, but eventually there's nothing they can do, I suppose. They have bought enough time. Scout is going to be up soon, 6 more seconds. He does have teleport available. Where's the nearest teleport ward? Is actually towards the mid lane, near the blue side of the jungle. Will he come through? Looks like he's teleporting towards his own Krugs, and with that teleport, I think TS need to be careful because he can actually one-shot people at this point in time. Has 3 items available, and with that ward spotting him out, they peel off a Baron at 6,000 HP with a double distortion. Both Zhou and Qingtian could have been taken out, and so although that might have looked kind of int to many people, EDG running into a 4v5 willingly, it really wasn't the worst outcome because they did manage to get some kills back. Really, it was the flank from Qingtian that really made this play happen, and Karsa actually managing to solo out Scout without his ultimate even, jumping in, very nice combos coming through, and then Qingtian with the follow-up, in goes the alley-oop, I suppose you could say, instant rotation now towards Baron, and we see here Qingtian yet again coming in absolutely clutch with the insect in onto Viper, and then Viper's alley-ooped right into a 3-man ultimate from Karsa into the Heartbreaker. Viper just got R-buttoned to death death if we're going to be completely honest, but very good focus fire in the midst of this chaos from the remaining members of EDG, actually managing to take out Knight, not allowing him to reset, not allowing him to survive, and in the end Jacula finds himself in a hula hoop of chakrams. EDG will, as a constellation prize, get the first Wind Dragon of the game, helps them with their huge ultimates, I suppose, with the showstoppers, with the equalizers, and of course with the chains of corruption and unbreakable will. But TES have now finally been able to develop a little bit of a gold lead, 2k in favor of them, as Qingtian now is about to face check into Scout, but the rest of EDG is in the area as well, as both the skill shots go wide. Qingtian, nice ward hop, does manage to break the tether, and looks like it's going to be a bit of a team fight coming in here as Knight jumping in, nice hook onto Viper, instantly cleansed as the Moonfall comes down. Mako doing a good job playing Bouncer, keeping the Diana away from the rest of his team, denying him the ability to get a big ultimate, as well as the Lantern takes Knight into safety. It looks like Mako is with a bit of dangerous pathing going in here, does have the unbreakable will, but it looks like they're going to keep going in as Flandre is frontlining. The members of EDG and TS fighting in this topside jungle for really nothing but domination, because of course whoever wins this fight does get Baron. Realizing this, both teams do back out, and although a little bit of a lead is all TS manages to get, there is still something, especially in these higher levels of play. Just a red buff, just a few camps here and there, and already you've developed a little bit of a lead. Not only have you built an advantage for yourself, you've also taken away from the enemy. You've subtracted from their resources and added to your own. So good plays there. It's the minor objectives, I suppose you could say, as being the things to look out for. All of the vision in the map is situated currently in the top side of EDG's jungle for both teams. And now, as EDG are clearing out the walls, we're going to see some back and forth here. To be fair though, TS are playing through the side lanes exceptionally well. Scout pushing out the top side while Qingtian mirroring him towards the bottom side. Knight is in the area to pick up all this straggling CS, and we see Qingtian just clearing out whatever resources he can. Meanwhile, as Mako does get hooked up, needs to be a little bit careful. Karsa is there, pops the Shredder's battle song just to disengage himself. Won't have that for the Baron contest, which looks to be starting up now. Scout just jumping in with the distortion and jumping back out to clear out the vision, being quite annoying. But Karsa wanting to jump in onto him, does not have the flash. Does Scout? I mean, Scout doesn't have the flash yet. It looks like it's going to be some more contest towards the top side. Again, the fight for this vision so far has been utterly brutal, has been absolutely continuous, as Jacula clearing out the vision in the Baron pit, and it looks like to be an explosive team fight as a hook does land onto Mako. Mako still does have the unbreakable will, chains of corruption going wide, and already one ultimate has been blown by the side of EDG. They are at right now a slight disadvantage, but a lot of posturing is going down. Neither team can really afford to send anyone towards the side lanes, of course, because sending a player towards the side lanes will instantly trigger a response from your opponent, and they will run it down on the remaining members of your team. Scout, perhaps, when his TP comes off cooldown, can look to just jump towards the side lane, quickly one-shot it with a distortion, and teleport back to his team. But it looks like both teams will now step away, prep their side waves for some additional action. Dragon is going to be spawning in 2 minutes time, so there's really only about a minute left for both teams to posture around before they need to start preparing for the next minor objective on the map. Dragons, of course, are a lot easier to begin, start, and rush down, and can be a lot more explosive than Baron fights. Baron fights tend to only kind of occur when one team decides to flip it, or one team has a huge advantage in terms of either items, gold, experience, or personnel, which TS kind of did have with, taking out Scout in the top side. And I wouldn't call that a huge advantage, but that was an advantage nonetheless. As we see, it looks like both the top laners and mid laners are just mirroring each other in the side lanes. Qingtian now with his E maxed out, as well as his Gore Drinker is able to clear out waves exceptionally fast, building now towards his Guardian Angel, as Flandre is instead building towards a Thornmail. Let's see what both teams have in their trunks. So we got a bunch of resistant items coming out from the jungler of TES. Meanwhile, on the side of EDG, JJ is now just completed his Void Staff to equalize his items. Flandre is still a little bit ahead of items, of course. That can be attributed to his huge lead in terms of CS. Meanwhile, Jacula has taken a bit of detour away from his Infinity Edge, what I assume to be his Infinity Edge, in order to secure himself that Hex Drinker. Of course, all he needs to worry about in team fights is Scout trying to one-shot him, as well as the Equalizer assisting in that. Really, the damage from Viper, I suppose he trusts in his own ability to be able to sidestep that. Really, all this Aphelios needs to do is to stay alive. and put out the damage as a nice flank coming in now from Qingtian. I did not see that at all, and Viper yet again picked off. So far, Qingtian is playing like an absolute madman today. He has accepted being the weak side. He's played it to perfection, only died once, was 40 CS down constantly, but that's really what you expect from the focus coming in from EDG. And now, he's found 2 picks on Viper in 2 key moments, as now Zuo and Qingtian are taking a 2v2 across the wall. In comes Knight to change it into a 2v3, as Flandre is frontlining, but the rest of his team is not available, flashing over the wall towards his team as Scout now is in the area. Qingtian going a little bit far into a 1v4 situation, and TES are just going to peel back onto this Baron. They do have the damage, of course, with the affiliates completely untouched in this inside the pit. Now Knight is the one playing goalkeeper. Scout needs to be careful. He could be jumped onto here. If he's CC'd out by the Spectral Maw, he's going to be instantly one-shotted. As in comes the hook, the Death Sentence goes in, and they just pile onto Scout, absolutely taken out. And this time EDG will not contest this, as they really cannot do anything without both their carries in this area. What they can look to do, however, is perhaps try and sneak away the dragon buff. Sorry, they can try and force a soul point for themselves. However, with the enhanced recalls of TES from the Baron, look at this beautiful flank from Qingtian, sitting in that bush for so long while his team are making plays towards the top side, realizing that once his team rotates, he will have a really good flank, and in he comes, not even giving Viper any opportunity to react. Viper had flash, but really Qingtian just flashed behind him and kicked him straight into his team. That's what you call beautiful play there from the rookie top laner of Top Esports. And right now, I think the game has been blown open. 6,000 gold lead in favor of TES. Beautiful picks coming out. More of Mortius actually now completed from Jackie, really opting into that safety as opposed to an increased damage output. But look at that damage from the piercing arrow from the completed 4-item Viper with his Serpent's Fang. And now the siege continues, however, as Jackie does have the red buff to sustain himself back up, does have the range of his sniper rifle to facilitate easier sieging. And right now, TES do have the Baron buff. Right now, EDG might... Well, okay, so there are words in favor of trying to look for a fight. For starters, Baron doesn't give you anything but siege ability. It doesn't really give you anything in terms of combat stats. That being said, TES have developed a 6,000 gold lead, and that's not something you want to easily and readily blindly fight into. Scout also, being in front of TES is exactly where the members of Top Esports want him to be. You are only worried when you don't know where the LeBlanc is, when she is somewhere in the jungle, prowling, skulking, looking to one-shot your very, very valuable AD carry at this point in time. As Guardian Angel has been completed now onto Qingtian. And looks like Jackie now can happily make his way working towards his Infinity Edge as Scout trying to sneak into the bush, but was spotted out by Karsa jumping into there. As the last remnant of outer towers will fall in favor of TES. EDG now is kind of feeling a little bit claustrophobic, I think, in their space. Not really much of an opportunity to go out. Scout yet again is in front of TES, exactly where they want him to be. And right now, Scout without flanking is no way he's going to be able to get onto Jackie with Zuo just sitting next to him, playing the perfect babysitter. So far, Zuo has been playing exceptionally as well. But I've got to say that Qingtian right now is just blowing my mind. He's just absolutely taking my breath away. Baron buff will despawn in 30 seconds time, so because of that, TES do find themselves back across their side of the map, getting a few resets in, getting the items in. In fact, Jackie opting for a 5th item Bloodthirster as opposed to the Infinity Edge. And at this point, ladies and gentlemen, I don't really know if we'll be seeing this Infinity Edge come into fruition, because 1, the game might end first, or 2, he might opt for a Guardian Angel or something. Really, damage output isn't something to be concerned about, I suppose, as Flandre is really the only tank available. That being said, he could go for the Lord Dominic's in order to ensure that he can shred him as opposed to the Infinity Edge. Really don't need to worry too much about the squishies, because as we've seen, Qingtian with the flanks as well as Karsa with the absolutely massive moonfalls have been able to pretty much one-shot Viper in almost every instances of combat there has been. And now TES are playing a little bit of a split game with 1-3-1 rotating into a 1-0-4 by the looks of it. Qingtian does have teleport available, can match up with his team should something happen. But looks like Knight is going to get a quick recall off, does have teleport available. So the remainder of TES doesn't really need to back off, can just have Knight join them immediately into the front line, into the thick of it, as Baron is spawning in 2 minutes and 20 seconds time. Next Dragon is just under that with 1 minute and 55 seconds remaining. And TES, while waiting for that, can look to just poke and prod at the defenses of EDG, looking for any shred ounce or any perhaps inkling of weakness to just attempt to make a kill happen here. Scout with this LeBlanc pick hasn't really been too effective in finding the picks, in finding the squishies, in managing to one-shot key targets before the fight starts. Karsa opting for the Magi Soul Stealer in his inventory. And needs to be a little bit careful. That's a little bit of a flip, but I suppose he's just looking to one-shot the entirety of his team. Doesn't want to worry too much about positioning-wise, I suppose. Now Scout, there's even more of an emphasis, more of importance placed on trying to one-shot Karsa before the fight starts. And already the gold lead has ballooned to 7,000 gold as TES renew their assault. 1-2-2 going on across the entirety of the map as waves begin to crash. TES jumping forward a little bit. Knight needs to be careful. He doesn't know where the remaining members of EDG are. He's stepping out quite aggressively, just using his Q to poke quite literally at Flandre. As now Dragon spawning in 45 seconds time with Baron a minute away. Some quick resets are coming in here from either team. This is really going to be their only opportunity to restock on wards, to get their new items. And ladies and gentlemen, we're about to see some explosive team fighting, so prepare yourself, buckle up, grab the popcorn. You really don't have much time left, honestly, as the contest could go on here. Zuo needs to get Karsa out of that pit, and he does. Karsa using his smite to steal away the red buff. Mako was sitting around the area waiting for the rest of his team to come. Otherwise, I think he would have gone in straight away onto Karsa, and that would have been an absolutely massive pick. Even forcing out the flash would have been great because Karsa on the Diana doesn't have that great of a reach, and Mako now able to go through his entirety of his jungle, get a bit of vision onto Baron buff. Oh my god, I'm sorry, onto Baron. As for the majority of the last 5 minutes, TES has pretty much infested EDG's jungle and taken away most of their vision. And it is quite an arduous task to be a support and on the losing end when your entire top side is warded. You need to kind of blind face check after your team gets priority of the waves. And already Flandre is being jumped in here onto both Knight and Qingtian as the Sonic Wave does miss, but the Spectral Maw stunning out Flandre, able to run out of the fight, just hot-footed out. But meanwhile in the mid lane, Mako, a little bit of a miss on his combo, pulverizing first before using his headbutt as the Unbreakable Will is used. I think TES, this is about as big of a signal to go for Baron as you can get, I suppose, having chunked out the support, clearing up the vision where possible in the top side of EDG's jungle, just picking out whatever vision they can. Now Scout, this is exactly where you want to be. You want to be on the flanks. You want TES to have no idea where you are, jumping on to Zuo, trying to one-shot him. Zuo, of course, is his biggest obstacle to one-shotting Jackie aside from that massive shield from the Bloodthirster. Now Knight is on the flanks. In fact, Knight and Qingtian have actually managed to corral the members of Catastrophe unfolds as Viper nearly one-shotted. Late Zodiacs coming out there from Karsa, but looks like it will not matter as he takes out both the jungler and AD carry of EDG. Meanwhile, Knight is having some personal time with the support as Mako goes down. He is picked up now by Knight. Flandre in a 1v3 situation, trying to keep Scout alive, trying to keep EDG's hopes in this game alive as the death sentence just barely rings away. Nice little attempt at a prediction from Qingtian. It looks like there's going to be a chase down here. Not sure if this is worth it, but I suppose with the root coming out, Scout has just been, I was going to say sentenced to death as Jackie flashes forward. Scout will be able to get away from this, however. Baron did not go in favor of TS. It looks like they're just going to try and end the game. I'm not sure if the death timers will allow this, however, as Viper will be up in less than 20 seconds, as will JJ. This will probably be an inhibitor and recall, and then the tango for the Baron will continue yet again. In fact, it looks like they're going to make an attempt for 2 inhibitors. This is quite greedy as JJ is respawning now, as is Mako, as is Viper. They do need to disengage. EDG could just try and run at them and force an engage here. Scout is on the flanks. Zuo is backing in a very, very dangerous place as the Flay does come in. Nearly is taken out as Equalizer comes in to finish him off. Qingtian now running away. Jackie as well, but Knight is going in for a flank, trying to assassinate somebody. Trying to assassinate Viper. Jumps over the wall. Spectral Maw in. Heartbreaker in. Viper taken out. Doesn't pick him up. He's just too squishy. And now Knight, however, is surrounded by the looks of it in the base of EDG. The rest of his team are backing off. Jackie is trying to make his way in to save him. Qingtian is teleporting in as well. Knight does have his Guardian Angel procced. It's a 4v3 situation now. Karsa is making his way down. He's trying to wait. His team's trying to buy his time as Aphelios is CC'd out. He's going to be torn asunder by JJ, toasting and roasting him out. Meanwhile, Scout and Qingtian tussling it out. But in comes the Diana. In comes the Moonfall. In comes the 3-man. In comes Qingtian. Down goes the remainder of EDG, and Karsa putting his team on his back, lifting the members of EDG and bringing them down, crashing them with some gravity, I suppose. And I think this is the end of the game, ladies and gentlemen. Scout alone up against Qingtian and Karsa. It is a 3v1 situation, but Zuo is in the base as in goes Scout trying to one-shot him, but Qingtian with the kick, with the Dragon's Rage, with the Sonic Wave, And just like that, TES look to be finishing out this game. Viper stepping forward, needs to be careful, however. Could very potentially get one-shotted just by Karsa. Does have a lot of stacks on his Magi's, which actually has been sold. Never mind. And now Karsa, having picked up the outer tower, Prowler's claw forward, in comes the piercing arrow number 1. Will Karsa be able to dodge this? Nice sidestep into the wall, but Viper continues giving chase. Zor is making his way up, trying to get a lantern position, but sticking too close to the wall is Karsa. Easy piercing arrow coming in from Viper, and somehow, someway, EDG managed to hold on to this game, but really for how much longer? Having every single structure in their base reduced to rubble, with the exception of the Nexus itself, as well as top inhibitor. The members of TES have respawned, and now they're heading towards Baron, as we see how all of this started all so long ago, with Zor's death heralding the start of utter chaos, as Knight making his way, just looking for Viper, flashing over the wall. Poor AD carry of EDG, really nothing he could do in that situation, played as perfectly as he could. The only thing he could perhaps, no, there's nothing he could have done, honestly. Didn't have flash, didn't have cleanse, and EDG, in a last desperate act to try and salvage this game, attempt to start up this Baron with Karsa now. I think Karsa still dead. With Qingtian in the base. In goes the members of EDG. It is a 3v4 right now, as Scout is not in the area. The Baron buff does go to EDG, and now they need to run back into their base, but looks like Jackie is going to try and stop them. Will he be able to? Actually, just out of reach are the members of EDG, but unfortunately JJ did not manage to hold his nerve. Will be left high and dry, trying to clear out the wave with the equalizer, with the flame splitter, with the Zhonyas, but alas, I do not believe it is going to be enough, and as the remainder of TS are now barreling their way forward, a bunch of coming pings onto the Nexus of EDG. EDG will not have one of their key teamfight ultimates available, as the poke does come down. Final item for Jackie is indeed the Guardian Angel. And right now, things are looking absolutely doomed for EDG, but hope springs eternal, I suppose, as the poke is coming through. Not really doing too much damage, but eventually it will start to stack up as Qingtian stepping forward aggressively. Knight with the flanks, absolute huge concave coming out here from TES, as Flandre tries his best to keep Knight away from his team, but in goes the flash, but he quickly is bounced around. Karsa only getting both the support and the top laner, but Qingtian yet again with the insect. This time there's no one to follow onto him, as remaining members of EDG do jump in. Karsa taken so exceptionally low. Death sentence goes wide. Flandre taken out with the flay into the box, as Scout jumps forward trying to assassinate the jungler, but Qingtian managing to assassinate the AD carry in turn. The fight is so spread out, but it's definitely in favor of TES, no doubt about it. This game is going to be claimed, as the rest of EDG just throw themselves at top esports, and the victory will go in favor of our champions of Summer 2020. With their new top laner actually enjoying a certain degree of success. And that is what we love to see. EDG, to their credit, did a fantastic job holding on to dear life. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited to see what Game 2 has to herald, has to offer us in terms of this level of action. Because even for an LPL game, that was something else. That was, as many would say, Christmas having come early. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. See ya!